Thanks for tuning in to Bitches Be Cray. Just a quick reminder, everything we share on this show reflects our personal experiences and what's worked for us. We're not healthcare professionals, so if you or someone you know is dealing with a medical or mental health concern, please reach out to a qualified professional for support. What's up, bitches? Welcome to Bitches Be Cray. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nancy. And today we're going to be talking about abandonment.
Yep, if you've been following along, we are on our second episode about healing your wounds and is it finding your true self, being your true self? It's from our book series that we're doing.
Abandonment basically is, I will describe what abandonment is to see if you can relate. But I will also talk about how abandonment has affected me. And Amanda will also talk about how it's affected her because various examples may not, like the description on here may not click, but when I give you the examples kind of in a storyline, that might be like, oh, okay. And I want to let you guys know that this is the third time that we record this episode. So I wasn't going to say that, but I feel like for clarification, I am going to say it because I feel like over the couple of weeks that we've tried recording this, a lot of it's letting me know that I have abandonment issues like a motherfucker. Anyway, so a couple characteristics is it happens between the ages of 1 to 3 from the opposite sex. So if you're a male, from your mom, and if you're a female, from your dad. It's basically the affection that you needed was not received, and they typically tend to be very dependent. They're very thin, lean, low muscle tone, poor posture, curved back, or long arms. I'll just describe my daughter. Big, sad eyes, but lingering. Uses the word alone a lot. Victim role. Needs attention, needs support. Hard to speak for themselves. That's Amanda. Asks for a lot of advice. Me and Amanda. Sadness. Physically retrieves from people. One day happy, the next day super sad. Loves an audience. Searches for independence. Loves sex. Biggest fear is being alone. They have a good appetite. Typically have migraines, diabetes, depression, and weird medical uncurable conditions.
And the mask for this wound is the dependence mask.
But they'll try to trick you pretending they're real independent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think like because you feel abandoned, you have to take care of yourself. You do feel somewhat independent, but you know, really, you just want someone to be
there.
Bitter.
I've come to feel
for sure.
I've come to realize. Do you want to go first, Amanda?
Okay, I can. Yeah, let me go to my list.
Since Amanda thinks she has no abandonment.
I never said that. I did. I said I really think I have abandonment. Remember, I'm like maybe I don't have much rejection, but you said my rejection feelings are truly, or no, you said my abandonment feelings are actually rejection.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Okay. Because the first one even says about my mother, and this is like the opposite. This is the wound from the opposite sex parent, but both of my parents worked 6 days a week, so they were really only home on like the for sure day they'd be home would be Sunday because they worked for the government. The government was always open. My dad drove garbage truck, my mom drove a mail truck, so whether it was raining, snowing, whatever, no inclement weather days for them, like we just had an inclement weather day here, they would have still been out delivering that. Got to deliver that mail, even these days. But I feel like that made me feel abandoned and alone a lot, even though I lived in a small little community area with family near me. It's not the same as not having your parents, So one of the traits or things you might do is blow things out of proportion. I'm really good at that. Something can be so tiny. Actually, we had a fun little day today, Nancy and I did, and we did Nancy's nails with nail dips. And sometimes I do them on my own. And like, so I did that last week for myself, and I had two of them that did not turn out right. And that's like something so simple that I think a lot of people would be like, oh, well, they'll look better next time, or it's not a big deal. It's just one nail. And I definitely blew that out of proportion. Like, I was obsessed about it for days, like something so little. It's crazy. I talked to my therapist about it. I'm like, yeah, so the thing is, my nails driving me crazy. But I do that with a lot of things. Like, if you would get a meal out and you didn't get your sauce when you got home, and you would just find a substitute sauce at your house or get over it. But nope, not
No,
me.
that's
Not me.
not.
Not me. I blow that right on up. But all kinds of stuff like that. I feel like, or maybe you forgot to tell me something, or maybe the plans changed. And again, it should be something that I think a lot of people would be flexible about. And to me, that would like ruin my whole day. Another thing is playing parent with other people. They don't have to be younger than you, but definitely I think that does happen a lot with older siblings, because my brother is like 4.5 years younger than me, and so is my cousin. So I felt like I wanted to take care of them a lot, or boss them around, or do things a
Yeah.
parent would do. Also, like saving other people. Like, I had a friend when I can't remember, she might have been a senior in high school, and she still didn't have her like driver's license. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how
What
do
is going
you,
on?
how do you not, how, like, because to me, I was like, the moment I was 15, let's learn how to drive. Actually, I think I was driving a little before that, like practice at my driveway. But the moment I was 16, I'm like, okay, it's my birthday. Let's go ahead and get these license. I just couldn't believe someone didn't have that. But her parents didn't take the time, didn't have the time, whatever the deal is, they didn't teach her how to drive. So I'm like, no, I got it. Like you got to be able to drive. So I felt like the need to save her. And in college, when I had a roommate who like was kind of struggling financially, like I would help take care of her. I would like make sure that like I would make her dinner, or if I wanted to go out to dinner but she couldn't afford to go out, like I would offer to pay for her, because I'm like, I really want to go out to this dinner, I want you to come with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of thing, definitely want to like save people. I think Nancy would probably say I still do this, because I definitely have some friends that I don't want to like give up on the friendship, and maybe they're having like struggles, and I would definitely try to like give them advice, or talk them through it or whatever. But yeah, I think I do want to save people. Maybe I wanted somebody to save me. Maybe that's probably what it was about. Maybe nobody saved me.
That's exactly what it's about.
No, it saved me. No. Asking for opinion or advice or approval from others. Like, if I'm trying to make a decision and I'm stuck between two things, it could be something really small, like, should I get this flavor or this one? Or it might be something really big. Should I go to this location on a trip, or this location? And most of the time, it might look like I actually want your help and advice, but really I'm just like looking for support, because I've probably already made up my mind. And at the end of the
She
day,
just wants validation.
yeah,
Make
because
sure you're not fucking up.
yeah, because typically I'm like, I already know what I really want, and I just want somebody to be like, oh yeah, that's the one you
That's
should
normal.
get.
That's
Yeah.
normal. You're not a crazy bitch.
Yeah. And let's see what else. If I had a note about refusal of help leads to manipulation or sulking. I think I don't do this quite as much as I used to, but definitely I'm thinking back to like that first relationship, with Andrew. And I would turn like very manipulative. I would like pout, like like a child. Like you would expect a child to pout
Yeah.
over not getting their way or not getting a need met. I I used to do that. I don't think I do it as much, but I could be wrong. Maybe I do. Something that really bothers me, that's part of this abandonment wound, is if people are like checking the time, like they want to, it makes you just feel like
They don't want to be there.
yeah, they don't want to be there, or they have somewhere else they need to be that they think is more important than spending time with you, or like rushing off. I feel like maybe this bothers me. I mean, it's my same sex parent, but like when my mom and brother come to visit me, like they never want to be here. I mean, this is just their own thing. They never like want to stay past dark. They want to get home before dark. So sometimes I feel like things are a rush, and I'm like, you can't just like hang out. Like you have like, I don't know what that wound is for them.
Yeah. Up until like last year, all of her shit was timed to the motherfucking T. Even pee breaks.
Okay, well, I do like a schedule,
We have
and
15 minutes before the movie starts, ladies. It's time for a pee break.
I mean, I do like time, and I do like schedules, but I guess I just feel like they want to rush off sometimes because it's dark. I don't know, but I feel like it goes with that, even though that's my same sex parent. situation. But just makes you think of like the people checking the time. Like it just feels like you have to go home. Like you
Like,
can't.
why can't you just be with me?
Yeah, like I don't see you that much. Like
Like,
chill.
goddamn.
Yeah. Parents were absent or I was alone a lot as a child. I already mentioned my parents worked a lot. And even when my parents were off of work, like my mom loves, I'm saying loves because she still does, loves a project. So she would like come home basically, change her clothes, and she'd like right out in the yard building something, working with plants. Like, I mean, I think it's good she was out in nature. She probably, I mean, my mom's like super introverted, and I think you and I had talked about this a little bit. There was an episode in the adult chair about like introverted versus extroverted and what you need to do as a person to recharge. So unfortunately, my mom needed to recharge because she's been like out about on the streets, delivering the mail, talking to businesses, talking to people. She probably needed like some alone time, you know, even though for me, like I'd been waiting all day for her to come home to talk to.
Yeah.
So,
A lot.
yeah, a lot. I like to talk a lot. I wanted to tell everybody my whole day, like from beginning to end. But my dad, he would, I don't even know sometimes he would even come home after work, maybe because I feel like he was always wearing his like little work uniform somehow. But he had like all these little side jobs, right? Like he sold Avon with his sister. He had like a backhoe and a bulldozer and a dump truck. Well, him and his brother-in-law like they like owned them together. So they would like go off and like dig stuff for people, you know, like whatever. I don't even know what all they did. My dad used to like mow the lawn for the, or well, mow, not really a lawn, the cemetery, like next door is like this big cemetery. Somebody had to mow it. And so my dad used to do that. So I feel like even though like my dad would like go to his job, he'd come home, he would always be off doing something else. So like
As men typically do.
yeah. I feel like I do think though that he was always home for dinner. I don't really remember having dinner without him. At least if we did, it wasn't often because I'm not remembering like sitting at the table waiting for my dad to come home for dinner. So I feel like he was always there and he would like help my mom cook dinner. They would like
that's nice.
you know, they would do some together. They would do some things they would cook separately. But I did. I feel like they were gone a lot. They were like home for dinner and it was time for bed. I think, you know, this is just making me think about something. I used to stay up so late as a child. I still do. But I think right now, I think I stay up late because I feel like there's still things I want to do before the day's over and you have to go back to work. But I think as a child, I stayed up late to spend more time with my parents because I wasn't spending time with them till like dinner. Then it's like what, dinner, showers, and bed. You know what I mean? Like, so I think I stayed up late with them to get more time. I have never thought about that before, but I just had a breakthrough. But okay, what else? I enjoy doing some activities and some things alone, but I can feel abandoned if my partner does the same. That probably happens with friendships too, like not just romantic relationships, right? But like there's been times I actually told Nancy this a while back. She never thought that I was jealous of any of her other like friendships and and relationships, and I told him like, of course I'm not like an animal, of course I get I mean animals are jealous too though, right? But I'm like I'm like, of course I'm like, I'm happy that you have these people to do experiences with. But like she'll go on like with one of her cousins she's really close with, they will like take a lot of trips together, and like during these times like I wasn't even in a position to go on trips because I had a younger kid living with me. I have my two dogs. I have when I was teaching, like my schedule wasn't near as flexible. I mean, I know now we're talking about like, you know, we had a trip last year and we're talking about our trip for this year. But yeah, I think it did. I felt like, oh, Nancy's going off on these adventures and I can't go.
Yeah.
And but also like this, like even something smaller, right? Like I spend like a decent amount of time with my friends. Like I see Nancy at least once a month. So, no, normally like twice a month these days. This podcast has given us more time together. And I have like a few other friend groups. Like I'm into book clubs and I have like kind of like standing monthly friend dates. So I feel like I see my friends pretty regularly, but if my husband wanted to see his friends as much as me, I think it would definitely make me feel abandoned and like, oh, he doesn't want to spend time with me, but he wants to spend time, or maybe not that he doesn't want to spend time with me, but he's choosing to spend time with him instead. Although I think it'd be really healthy for him to see his friends a little more, honestly. But I guess I'm thinking a lot of like in my past relationships, especially my long distance one. If my boyfriend didn't want to come see me on the weekends because he wanted to go like on a rafting trip with his friends, like
it hurt
that. That was like a knife to the heart because I'm like, we already don't see each other that much. And now you're going to give up the one time we have to go like, I mean, now that I'm in a different place. Like he probably didn't need to go rafting with his friends, you know, like
Yeah.
but still it hurt.
He did need to go to rafting with his friends, but whenever you get such a little time and you also have the abandonment wound, it's literally you're being abandoned again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just a regular hangout. It's they don't love me. I'm not good enough. Why does he want to be with me? Why would he rather be with them?
Exactly.
Just
It hurt and it hurts.
yeah,
It
I hurt
hurts
like
a
a
lot.
bitch.
The next one, I might get upset if I'm not invited to something. I do like to be social, and I will go to a lot of things that people invite me to. But sometimes I don't want to go. But I think most people do like to be invited. I actually had a friend once who's like, I stopped inviting her to things. She's like, well, but I liked being invited, but like you never came. So I mean, I don't know though if I would feel like if I never showed up over and over, if someone did invite me, I guess I'd probably be upset about that too. Because
Yeah,
you just want to be included, right? It's just like
that's it.
a basic need to
Like,
feel
why wasn't I
included.
not even considered?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not good enough.
So yeah, I think if I'm not invited to something, even if I don't want to go, it yeah. Frequently want to touch or hold hands. I think when I was reading this chapter, it talked about like if you're looking at like a child who's like really clingy to one of their parents, you know, like maybe like hanging all over them in the stores or probably even
Mm-hmm.
at home, right? Or like wanting to like sit in their lap or wanting to like hold their hand, which obviously you should have some physical touch with your parents. Like you should have like hugs or bedtime kisses or like whatever. But I do think when I was a child, I don't remember a lot of physical touches in my house, but like I know that when I would like walk in stores or if I was somewhere really crowded, like my dad would hold my hand like through the crowds. Or possibly like tote me and carry me through when I was younger. Like I'm thinking we went to Disney World and I remember we were like watching the fireworks and it was like so fun. But you know, it's crowded as crap at Disney World. And then
Yeah.
we were trying to leave. So I think I remember like my dad like just like at some point like picking me up and hauling me through the crowds. And I feel like my grandma was my neighbor, but I feel like maybe we used to hug goodbye at least when I was little. Like I would always like give her a little hug goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
So I did have some physical touches between like my family, but like now, like I always say, my love language is physical touch, and I'm certain that that has everything to do with the abandonment
I've been
issue.
reading that your love language is the shit you didn't get when you were little.
Yeah. Oh well, look at mine. My love languages. My two high ones are always physical touch and quality time.
Yeah, quality
So,
time's my main one.
Yep. So that I guess that makes sense because, like I said, I remember like some touches that maybe I wanted more touches. Maybe I wanted more snuggles.
I wanted more touches.
Maybe I needed more snuggles. But my husband, he is not into physical touch. That is not his cup of tea. But so we had to kind of make some like rules or boundaries around when can we have physical touch so I don't overwhelm him. But it's like I can't have none because that's gonna make me upset. So like we hold hands like as we walk to and from the store, like outside, not like in the store. I feel like in past relationships I was holding hands in the stores. I was holding hands nonstop, and that could also be because like I was a teenager, and teenagers I think do like to
we're gonna hold hands.
Yeah, right. But even like as in my young adult relationship, my long distance one, I felt like we were always touching too.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just want or maybe need it more than others. But my husband will hold we have our little rules. Like if we go to the movies, we'll hold hands here and there, and I give him break. I feel like I have to give him breaks. I really honestly have to think about it. I have to think about like, okay, I've been holding his hand for a while. He probably needs a moment. And sometimes he'll take it for himself and sometimes he doesn't. But I definitely touch him more than he does me. Bless his heart. I avoid situations where I can't flee. Like I've mentioned this before. I don't typically like to sit inside of a booth, but after talking with my therapist about this is more like a thing of anxiety from like having some like allergic reactions or some kind of reactions to certain foods. And I've got sick at restaurants and I just want to be able to make sure I can flee the booth. Like I want to flee. But also that like is in other circumstances too. Like I don't like flying, and I don't know if that's because I can't flee. I mean, I guess it is. I feel like it's also because you have to give up a lot of control when you fly.
A lot of it.
You know what I mean? Like if you're in a car with somebody or you're driving, you can pull over and get out. Like you can leave. And when you're flying, like you're there.
You're in it.
And I don't like that. So it's probably
you're in it for the long haul.
It's probably this. concerts and movie theaters. Growing up, these were never a problem for me. So I think these are another thing that's more related to anxiety instead of this wound, but I could be wrong. But I think just over the years, all these tragic events that have happened has made me really concerned to be in places with a lot of people. And I'm hoping I'm going to get over that eventually because I haven't been to a concert in a long time. But listen, if I can ever get myself to Taylor Swift, and one day I reckon I will,
We just put on our vision board.
When her next little tour comes out, whatever that'll be,
in 100 years.
Right. I'm going to get over it and I'm going to go. So, when I think about when I hear the word abandonment, I think about someone choosing to leave. Like that's like what first comes into my mind. Like someone's choosing to leave you or leave a situation. But in my case, my dad passed away when I was about to turn 11. I was like a few months away from 11. So obviously that did make me feel abandoned. I didn't feel like he just was like, oh, okay, I don't want to be your dad anymore, peace. But, obviously he did leave on his own accord or not. But when he was alive, as I mentioned earlier, he was like gone a lot. I think I never thought about that because when I think of my relationship with my dad, it's all pretty positive. Like
it's very romanticized.
Yeah, like I feel like your typical daddy's little girl. Like we would like go on little I say little trips together. Like I said, he had like a dump truck. He'd be like, oh, I have to go haul some gravel or haul some dirt. And we're like, you want to go? And like he would ask my brother and I if we want to go. So like I felt like he wanted to spend time with us.
Yeah.
He tried to include us in things that he was doing. And like when he was selling Avon, he would like take us over to my aunt's house, and we would like help him put these little baggies with like the little magazines or whatever you call them, where you could like buy the stuff. So we would like go and like just do like little stuff with him. So I do feel like he did try to include me, but obviously his death definitely made me feel abandoned. Another thing it mentions was how people with this wound eat or what type of food they might like, and they mentioned that someone who has been abandoned might really like bread. I don't know how they figured this out or how they know that, but I love me some bread so much. And I think the last time we talked about this, and one of the times we tried to record it, you told the story of when we went to Outback.
Yeah, she had like 40 loaves of bread.
I didn't eat all by myself, but yes, we they're like, you want more bread? Yes. The answer was yes, I did. Outback does have one of my very favorite breads too, but I love bread. And they also mentioned that someone with this wound might eat their food very slowly. Like today, Nancy and I took our daughters to a little brunch experience, and I was the last person eating, and my daughter was said, wow, you take forever. Like I was still there, just
you did
eating my potatoes. Something else is that this wound often has like issues or fears around authority figures. And when I like think back to my childhood, like I loved going to school and I felt mostly like safe and good with my teachers. I mean, I was a little afraid of them at first because obviously they are an authority figure and you don't really know them. You're just kind of like tossed in a room with an adult you don't know and you have to listen to them. I mean, that's a little traumatizing if you think about it. You're like, hi, I don't know you, but now I have to like follow you around all day and do everything you tell me.
That's very true.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
but I thought about it now. But anyway, I did all my teachers. All my teachers, however, for the most part, I'm thinking like elementary school, were women. So that possibly made me feel a little safer too, because women are typically like warm and nurturing. But if the principal was a guy, if the principal showed up, I was so afraid of him. I don't know why. I don't even know if I ever spoke to him. He just had this like demeanor about him, this like a very authority figure. He was scary to me. And the same thing with like my first job. Like my first manager was a woman and she was just a few years older than me. And so I mean, I would make sure I was like on my toes and doing my stuff when she was around, of course. But eventually, I started feeling more comfortable with her. But when our district manager would show up, I was terrified of him. So yeah, definitely a thing with like being afraid of authority figures. And another thing that was mentioned, that Nancy mentioned when she was reading the description of this wound, was about like wanting to have a lot of sex or having more sex than your partner. And I do think over time, I can definitely look back and think of times where I felt like
cried in the shower.
No, that I had like a healthier sexual appetite than some people that I was in like serious relationships with.
Yeah.
I used to think that part of it was one, because my first relationship with Andrew. Like it was just new and fun and exciting.
Yeah.
But you would think like a teenage boy would be more into, but he had like a stronger moral compass because he felt very like,
Guilty.
yeah,
Oh, what a loser.
like his grandparents were super religious,
Oh.
and so I think he felt like, and I did, we went to church with them sometimes, but anytime we were in church we weren't doing that anymore. I still wanted to, but we weren't. It was like too like, we felt bad, we felt guilty.
Mm.
So there's that. But then in my second like serious relationship, my long distance one, I definitely felt like I wanted it all the time because I feel like even if I didn't necessarily want to in the moment, I feel like you had to squeeze it
You had to
in,
do it.
because if you did it, it's going to be a whole week or possibly two or who knows
And
how long.
God knows if you get in an argument,
Yep.
you might not see each other for 2 months.
Exactly. So it's like, well, you just make it happen. But
Yeah.
I think if I'm thinking back, I do feel like I wanted to, but also think that's how I was connecting with him. Again, physically, I wasn't seeing him throughout the week, and I just kind of wanted to squeeze in every physical stuff. But it's probably also to do with this wound as
Yeah.
well. And the last thing that I had was I know you mentioned like various diseases or disorders that you could possibly have with this wound, and one of them listed was asthma. And when I was in third grade, I had asthma and I had to take an inhaler to school. And it was only for that year, and I, grew out of it, as they say. But I did have that, and that's my
That's some good old fashioned abandonment.
lovely list of abandonment. And yeah, let's get into yours.
I just want to start by saying that I didn't even think I had this wound.
Oh, again? Like ever, or like this round when you were reading it?
Okay, so when I first, this is my third time reading the book. When I first read the book, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, it's fine. I think it's because I also thought I had more betrayal, because I was confusing everything for like feeling betrayed, but then now I know I was feeling abandoned.
Okay. Yeah.
So for me, I didn't really live with my father until I was 9 years old on a permanent basis. I lived in Mexico, and he would come work in the U.S., so he was not present in my life. He was in and out of my life.
Yeah.
He was in and out of my life every 6 months. So I guess a lot. I mean, out of all the kids my dad has, he has 8 kids. I'm the baby, so my siblings say that I'm the one that got the most affection from my dad. I'm probably the one that got held. So I mean, I got more, but I still didn't get what I needed, I guess.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, if someone's not around consistently,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that does kind of start to feel like you're normal.
Yeah,
but it's not normal,
So yeah, I didn't move in with him until I was 9 on a permanent basis. So and then when I did, I mean, he wasn't really there. They left me alone to go to work at 9 years old. They weren't really there. I was alone, a lot, like always, I'd say.
Yeah. What shift did you say they worked?
12 hours.
But like in the morning, the middle of the day, the night?
12 hours a day. So, sometimes in the beginning, my mom worked at night.
But was it like a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's basically getting yourself ready for school.
I did.
That's basically coming home, taking care of yourself.
But even when they were there, I still did it.
Oh, okay.
Like, I can't imagine Renata, 9 years old, getting up and getting her ass ready for school.
Yeah. That seems crazy.
That's not for me.
Yeah.
Some of these things I don't do anymore. I don't victimize myself anymore, but I used to. I feel like I used it a lot to kind of maybe manipulate the male companion at the time that I was with. Mm-hmm. After a while, they see right through it, and it makes you even more upset because you feel like they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I tend to ask a lot of advice, but I don't use it. I mean, I feel like now I do. This is something I used to do in the past. I put up with a lot of relationships and friendships just not to be alone. I feel like I tend to crave attention, but I never ask for it. Like that makes me feel, I guess, needy. And I also feel like it makes me feel like if they don't give it to me, then I feel like I stopped asking. Even I feel like this might be on a sad level, but I've noticed that since my first boyfriend that broke my heart, I never, ever, ever prayed to God about love ever again.
Oh.
Like, I just decided, like, whatever. Like
that it wasn't important?
Yeah. I was just like I'm not going to get it anyway. Because I remember I prayed so hard for my first boyfriend to get back together with me.
Okay.
That after that, and even with the father of my child, like, it hurt. I just, I mean, that's a clear issue, that reason of abandon. Like, I just did not want to be without him, but it wasn't him. It was just I couldn't stand to be by myself because I was so fucking hurt.
Well, and you're saying about how you, because there's been a few times where in your current relationship you have said something. I'll be like, why don't you just tell him X, Y, Z? And you're like, no, I just want him to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that, but sometimes people don't realize what you need. And it's a hard thing to balance. I get it
Mm-hmm.
because it is like that. Like if he wanted to, he would.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people, I think about my husband is like, he does do a lot of things for me. But there are some things I have said to him for, like, why you doing? He's like, I know you wanted that. And I'm like, what do you mean? But I don't know. I don't know if he's not normal either. So who knows? Sorry.
I
Okay.
always feel like the person that's with me like wants to leave. Not my friends, not you or anything like that, but like in a relationship. Like I feel like I'm not good enough for them to even want to spend time with me.
So when you say wants to leave, you mean like from hanging out in the current moment, or like
Yeah,
leave you forever?
from hanging out in the current moment. And then I also really do have noticed that I'm very upset about like when my person chooses to go be with her friends. Like I feel like that's upsetted me because I'm just like, well, we don't really get to see each other that much because of our situation with our children, and you're choosing to go be with your friends, but it's healthy and normal. Like I get to have I'm here now,
Right.
you know? So it's like, why am I being selfish?
And he wanted to be with you today. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
remember he's like, "Oh, you want to come to this?" You're like,
Well, but I've also been working on not being too available
okay."
because I feel like that's also contributing to my abandonment issues.
Like, because you would maybe drop everything to go.
I abandoned myself. So one of the big traits about abandonment issue is you abandon yourself,
Yeah.
and I've started to do that. Like I stopped doing a lot of things. He didn't ask me.
Right.
I did them because I wanted. It shifted, I hope he never hears this. God. Suicidal thoughts. I don't like authority figures, male ones. I feel like I basically for the last decade I've just decided that I could do everything by myself. I can do it alone. Like it doesn't. Like I just accepted it, and I'm just like, okay.
Well, and I think it's because, I mean, think about it. From your childhood, you did have to do everything by
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You just had to figure it out, even if you didn't know. But I think we talked before about how you had like a dresser you wanted to put together, and of course you could have done it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have somebody in your life who can help you or do it for you, and if they are willing and want to, like that's okay to accept help
Yeah, but
from
I just
someone.
always feel like I'm a burden.
Okay.
Like I
Yeah.
always feel like I don't belong. I feel like this episode's gonna make me cry.
Oh.
I don't know. This is the third time we recorded, so um, as soon as our relationship gets too deep, I think of everything in the world to fucking ruin it and run away.
Yeah.
And
I've definitely seen you do that lately.
I've been doing it a lot
Yeah.
for 2 months now. I like to go out a lot on my own, but God forbid, I feel like I mean that's a double one, but yeah. I like to be invited, but I don't want to go. I feel like I have codependency, but when you think about codependency, you think about all the things you could be dependent on: weed, TV, your phone, sex,
Food.
food, your friends,
Yeah.
work. Like people who have abandonment issues tend to be addicts. Um, and I feel like there's always like a security blanket person in my life. Big crowds are not for me. Um, Change is very hard for me. Like change, just if something changes, like even within my like relationships, if something changes, it's like why did it change? I started going into like a spiral, like I don't know. And then also people with abandonment issues are huge daydreamers. As have you heard other episodes? I used to be a maladaptive daydreamer. I am not anymore. I don't daydream anymore. So I could say that. That's yay me, I'm healed. And I do go above and beyond to be hyper independent. But I feel like in this relationship, I have cut down on the "I don't need you" vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like I haven't told him that, like, oh, I don't need you. Yeah, you're here because I want. Like none of that. None of that. And he also did tell me the other day that my masculine energy is that I need to tone it down a little bit. He was like, you want me to be a man? He's like, but then I have to. He's like, I can't be a man because I feel like I'm having a pissing contest with you
Oh, okay.
to see who's a bigger man. He's like, so I'm just gonna basically And he's like, you up one me more, and then you up one me more. He's like, you want me to beat your ass? He's like, I don't know how to be more of a man. He's like, can you tone it down a little bit?
Mm.
And I feel like that is so true. I feel like I'm gonna get emotional in this episode. I just
Mm.
anyway. I tend to save others. Um, I don't do this anymore, but I used to be the person in my family. If somebody had a fucking problem, I was there to help them.
Yeah.
But I've been taking care of other people since I was 9 years old. But I will say there is help because I want to say that I used to hate children because I've been taking care of children since I was 9 years old. The first baby I ever took care of, she is now 27 years old.
Oh wow.
She was 3 months old and she had diarrhea and vomiting, and I was 9 years old.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yes, and I was also left alone with a 2-year-old. So, but this past weekend when my boyfriend came over with his children, it was the first time ever that I did not feel, because I used to feel crippling anxiety of the idea of having to take care of somebody, because I'm like, when the fuck is someone going to take care of me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to cry. Like, people who have the abandonment, like, we just want to be like taken care of,
Yeah.
but we can't be taken care of as adults anymore because it's creepy. You're being dependent. So now what do we have to take care of ourselves. That's literally what you have to do. Every time you're feeling dependent on someone, or you're having an anxiety because that person's not calling you, or he's not texting you, or he's not there, or you feel ignored, tell yourself, what do I need right now for me?
Yeah.
And then you do it. Like, that's basic, because we cannot rely on other people. We can't.
Right.
Like, it's nice to have validation from another human. It really is. It's great. But some couples are not that involved.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they're not good people, or it's not a good relationship for you. It's just some people are not there. So you have to be understanding of that and just learn to basically soothe yourself.
And I think too, if you ever do any like inner child work, like that is so helpful. If the problem is, until you're like really good at doing this, like it's really hard in the moment, and you often think about it like after. But if you can in the moment, like, because those needs you're having, like you said, like you're an adult now, but those needs are
inner child.
They weren't met from your childhood, like somebody taking care of you, like literally the basics of life. So it's like the grown up you has to take care of that for you.
And also, I mean, I feel like I'm coming out of it, but the resentment, I don't have that resentment anymore, but here lately I have been feeling angry about it, because I'm like, I have a great relationship, but this is blurring it.
Right.
And I'm literally self-sabotaging myself with my crazy. He doesn't know any of this, okay, guys? So don't ever tell him. Don't ever send him. This is all, like, I don't want him to know, because I don't want him to feel like I don't trust him. I do trust him. I'm crazy.
Right. You don't want it to think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
This is just like because of stuff from my past.
Yeah, I don't want him to do anything, think he's doing, because he's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
You know? And I feel like I'm almost 100% sure that if I told him how crazy I am, he would probably start validating me. I think he would. But I just don't want him to know. I don't want him to know. Like, maybe once I'm better.
But maybe if you ever have therapy together.
Yeah, maybe.
And then it's like a safe place for someone to kind of help really explain things.
But I feel like right now I'm very resentful of...
To your parents?
I don't know.
Or who are you resentful to? Of yourself?
I think my parents.
Okay.
Because if you would have fucking taken care of me a little bit better...
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't be so fucking scared that... And I feel like that's even what's hurting me even more, because now I see that there is a person who literally does want to do all this shit for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, if I let you, and then I depend on you. I'm not codependent. I depend on you. Like, you depend on your husband.
Right. And
then you leave, and then I don't know if my inner child could take that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a lot of it is my inner child saying, no, girl, we can't. Like, are we seriously going to trust this person right now?
Because, and then if I've had similar thoughts, but in a different way, about death. Hello, like, now I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, third time's a charm.
Yay!
When
So
when I was younger, like my teenage years or like young adult years, all I've ever wanted my whole life was to get married.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think maybe I did want kids, whatever. Like, I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a marriage. That's what I wanted. And probably because of abandonment issues. Yeah. I mean, most people do want to get married, but
But she dated, she married. She wanted to get married.
That was my goal.
Yeah,
I wasn't dating for funsies.
That's that marriage material.
but I used to be terrified to get married because I'm like, but my husband's going to die one day.
Yeah.
Like what happened to my mom, like how my dad died. And so like, yeah, like you said, like I depend on my husband. My husband literally came down here and set up these microphones for us.
Yeah.
And like he does all these things for me. And sometimes I'm afraid because I'm like, what, like one day he's going to die. And maybe
I'll die first.
Maybe, oh God, please let me die first. Like, I really actually hope I do. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll probably be like, okay, it's peace and quiet. But yeah, like, so I have a similar feeling to you, and it's about abandonment, but it's different.
And yours is worse.
I feel like I resent my dad a little bit for die. I mean, people die. What are you going to do? But like, now I fear that.
Yeah. And hard. That's valid. That's scary as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going to die. But...
I mean, we're all going to die, yes, but I do feel like it's scary to think that. And you've already lived it once. You don't want to live it again.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm sorry for you, too.
Why did we record this? Y'all, you guys are going to know how crazy I am.
That's okay. They want to know that they're not alone, so.
You're not alone. But I will say, one thing I learned in this whole 2 months of being crazy again is it's not the person, it's you.
Yeah,
because I thought that all these feelings were linked to that one specific person, because I don't want to ever ill speak about the father of my child, but all the feelings that I had, he validated them. They were like things were really happening. Mm-hmm. So now when I feel them, I want to think it's my intuition, but it's not your intuition, it's your anxiety.
Yeah. And you're thinking about those examples or evidence from your past, but that's not every person.
No.
But it is hard to separate.
So I just feel like when you feel anxiety about somebody doing something, don't say shit for like 2 days.
Because sometimes that is like some advice I'm like, that I give to myself and I give to others. Like, I understand you're feeling this way right now, and I'm not saying that's not okay, but like, let this ride out for a minute and see, like, is this true or is this because you're feeling something from something else?
Yeah.
Or
so
yourself,
I just, no, it's true. Like, just
that's hard to do though.
I just feel like maybe doing something every day for yourself too. Something and not abandoning yourself. Yes,
self-care. Because that was some advice I gave Nancy recently, is because I could see she had forgotten
apart at the seams.
You'd forgotten about you.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because you're like, I need to do this. And I'm like, you haven't been doing these things? And you're like, no. And I'm like,
I didn't do laundry for a month.
I'm like, listen, I'm like, how about, I'm like, I know it's going to be hard to separate yourself from this because you're like having this you feel like you're having a relationship issue in this moment. I'm like, but what about yourself? I'm like, why don't you just focus on you for a few days and see if that helps? And I think it did help you.
It does.
You abandoned yourself. You totally did.
Yeah. It got better. Yeah. It's just work.
It is.
Guys, never stop working on yourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yep. And we'll be back with our next episode, and it will be about the wound of humiliation.
What's that word that you can't say? Masochist.
Yeah.
The masochist.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye bitches.